people out there in the dark, thank you again for joining me today. I wanted to share with you something new I've started to collect. It's actually Disney name tags or name badges. I think they're name tags ultimately. I started noticing them and I became very, very intrigued. And for those of you who know me best, know that when I set my sights on something, I set my sights on something. So I started collecting some of these name badges, and they're actually quite amazing and interesting. You know, as you know, Disneyland is on its 65th anniversary, and Walt Disney World next October, will be celebrating its 50th anniversary. So there has literally been millions of not millions, but hundreds of thousands of name badges employees have worn over the years. And I started collecting them. And I'm sure you will be shocked to find that, or maybe not shocked, some of them can be quite expensive, but that's never seemed to slow me down. But anyway, I think we're gonna go to my bedroom and we'll take a look at what I've collected so far. I've got my fingers on possibly snagging a couple more, the Galaxy's Edge badge, and maybe a couple more badges from Disneyland Paris. But first, you know, in 1955, when Disneyland first opened, all of the employee badges or cast member badges were actually brass, and there were no names on the badges. They simply had, I guess, an employee number or a serial number. Now what you see here, this is a replica of that badge, obviously, that they put out in 2005 in celebration of the 50th anniversary. And this was something that cast members could buy. And as I understand it, it was limited to 3,000, which is quite frankly, probably quite a lot. But the original badges, they're actually so rare, even the Disney archives don't have a sample for their collection. But let's go take a look at mine. I think you'll enjoy it. I thought before we take a look at the name badges, I'd show you this puzzle that my mother actually took several months to put together for me and have matted and framed. She must really care about me. I apologize for the reflection, but it is absolutely a beautiful puzzle. And it makes a beautiful picture, and I was very touched by the gesture, but it hangs proudly in my bedroom. Anyway, on to our name tags. So we'll start with Walt Disney World. And our first badge here is Tom, and this is from 1996. This is the 25th anniversary, and this would be one of those badges, a guest of honor badge. I think once you came through the main gate, you could go up to one of the booths, purchase this, and have your name etched on the badge, and you can wear it. Again, Julia, same thing, guest of honor. This would be from 2000. Go through the main gate, plop down $8 or $12, get your name carved, you can wear a name badge while you're walking around the park. The first really interesting badge, and probably the oldest, is Harry. This is from 1971 or 1972, and you'll note the elliptical shape. I think this is somewhat rare, so it's nearly 50 years old. And then Arlen here, this is 1981, 1982, and this would be celebrating I think you'd say the tencennial, perhaps the 10th anniversary of Walt Disney World. And you'll note, the world with the mouse ears for Walt Disney World. Then we'll bounce down here to Dwight and Sissy, and as you can see, we're celebrating 15 years, and that would be 1986 for Walt Disney World. Then shockingly, we move into Rosa. This is the 20-year anniversary, which would be, you guessed it, 1991. Then we move on to Thomas here, the 25th anniversary, which would be 1996. Move down here to Frank. Frank, this is early 90s probably, right in there. This is known as the Ta-dum badge. You can see Mickey's got his arms sort of outstretched. Probably the most common badge. The groove is actually cut. That's not painted. That's how we know it's from the 90s. those first couple, Harry and Arlen and Sissy and Dwight and Rosa, all of those were painted rings. But anyway, left off at Frank. Next up is Antonella, and as you can see, this is celebrating the year 2000. Then we move into Pat and Darlene. This is 100 Years of Magic for Walt Disney World, and this is celebrating, of course, Walt Disney's birthday, which was in 1901, December something. But so these would be from 2001. Then next up we bounce to Goody here, and he's from 2003, where Magic Lives, which apparently is Walt Disney World. I don't know if I can get close enough and steady enough, but if you look there, you'll be able to see a little hidden Mickey just above that diamond and below that starburst. I thought that was kind of fun. But moving on, this is Walt Disney World. This is the 50th anniversary of Disneyland badge. And then we move into this Ryan badge for Walt Disney World. This is 2006 to 2009, I believe. It's actually harder to find your name than you think. Anyway, moving on, we've got, I guess that's Iran. This would be Disneyland Cruise, a Disneyland Cruises badge, and this is probably from the late 80s, maybe 1998 or so. This Cameron badge, this is Pleasure Island. Now, Pleasure Island in the 90s was part of, I think it was called Downtown Disney then, but this was sort of the over 21 section where there were clubs and dance halls and things like that. It's now the Landing, and this is all defunct, but somewhat rare badge, name tag. But now we're gonna bounce across the pond to Disneyland Paris, and I managed to get a couple of Disneyland Paris name tags. This is obviously the 25th anniversary, Paulina here. This is 2017. Then we move on to Jackie. This would be Disneyland Paris 2018. And Veronique, this is 2019 Disneyland Paris. I'm actually kind of fond of that one. That looks nice. I believe this is 2020, but I'm not certain. But again, Disneyland Paris, Malika here. I believe that says in French down there, the magic lives in you. And let's move on to Disneyland and Walt Disney Imagineering. Okay, so first up for Disneyland, again, we have two guest of honor badges, Papa and Nana. These are from the, probably the late 80s. And as I said previously, this would be something you, once you got through the main gate, you go over to a little booth, you purchase these for probably $8 to $12, and you get your name or your handle carved into the name tag to wear all day. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but there you have it. Here's another guest of honor, similar to Tom and Julia's for Walt Disney World. This is 2000 or late 90s for Lawrence. I know that because it just says Disneyland and not Disneyland Resort, which they came to be known as in 2001 with the opening of California Adventure, Disney's California Adventure. Next up, we have Sylvia. Now this is a badge that could be Disneyland or Walt Disney World. As I understand it, this is the highest honor a cast member can get, is this silver badge, and it represents dedication and excellence in their work, and I believe they're nominated by fellow cast members. Our next badge here, the Ghost badge. These were worn by cast members during the Little Monsters on Main Street celebration that takes place, I think, most days in October before the park opens, where cast members and their families can kind of walk up and down Main Street and get candy for their kids. And the cast members that had to work that shift, if you will, the guys had Ghost and the gals had Ghostess. And these are probably from 89 to 95. Then about 95, 96, they dropped the Ghost and Ghostess and just went to Boo Crew. I'm sure they did that because it's easier just to make one badge instead of two, Ghost and Ghostess. Everybody can be part of the Boo Crew. But kind of interesting. Next up, this is Dave, and this is the Carrollwood Pacific Historical Society, dedicated to preserving the railroads and trains of Mr. Walt Disney. So I think that's a somewhat rare badge. Next up, this is from the 90s as well, Walt Disney Art Classics, Sue here. I think this eventually just became Walt Disney Classics. This is where you get all your figurines and your artwork. But in the 90s, it was known as Walt Disney Art Classics. Our next two badges, these Luthers, this is Candlelight 2002 and 2003. And the Candlelight is the, what is it? It's the Candlelight Processional that's held 3 or 4 times, I think, at Disneyland, much more often in Walt Disney World. I believe it began in 97 or 98, and essentially the Disneyland Symphony Orchestra and a celebrity sort of walk down Main Street, and they sort of recite the First Christmas to a small group of invited guests. Somewhat rare badges. Next in rotation, we got another Frank. Now this is a Walt Disney Imagineering badge. This is actually from, probably the mid 80s or so. Next is another Walt Disney Imagineering badge. This is celebrating the 40th anniversary. So this is 1992. Walt Disney actually created WED Industries in 1952, which is where his then named Imagineers worked. At some point, Michael Eisner actually changed the company name of WED to Walt Disney Imagineering. But this badge is celebrating that 40-year anniversary. Then, of course, we jump forward 10 years later to 2002, and we've got the 50th anniversary for Walt Disney Imagineering. Again, I think both of those are somewhat rare. And then our final badge, this is Walt Disney Imagineering celebrating the 50th anniversary of Disneyland. This is slightly different than what the cast members in 2005 wore. Theirs was a gold color, but you'll see that momentarily. Now our next badge is my earliest Disneyland badge. This is probably from, is from 75, 76. And we know this is Disneyland because you can see there Sleeping Beauty's castle in the middle of the stars. If this was Walt Disney World, you would see the Mickey Mouse ears. Here, let me show you. It would look like that there, or probably more succinctly that. Hopefully you can see that. That would be right above America on Parade. And obviously this was in celebration of the bicentennial of the country. Next, we move to Dottie. And Dottie, this is probably from 1976, 1978. And both Dottie and Vicky, those silver ring around the outside, that is painted on. That's not a cut groove in the plastic. Followed by Tony. This is probably 78 into the early 80s. And again, as I mentioned before, this is the Ta-Dam badge, but it's quite old because again, that red ring is painted on like Frank's was at Walt Disney World. It was not a cut groove. Then we move back to Dottie. This is 1986. I think they had a slogan like, looks like we've started something. And you can see Mickey banging on a drum. Then we move to Tim. This is 1990 and the 35th anniversary of Disneyland. And that red groove, I know you're dying to know, that is carved. Then we have a series of Ta-Dams here. These Bill and Betty's are from, late 80s, early 90s, I believe. Somewhere along there. And then we move into the 40 Years of Adventure, Craig and Anne. And these are both from 1995, again celebrating the 40th anniversary of Disneyland. Next up here we have Beatrice, and this is 1996. This is the last year of the Main Street Electrical Parade, as you can see. And you'll note it still just says Disneyland on the name badge. Then we move into Roberto, this Light and Magic. This is 1997, and this Light and Magic parade apparently didn't go over very well because it only lasted a little less than a year and it all went away. So this badge wasn't worn very much. Then we bounced to 45 years with Bill. Obviously, this is 2000. This is the 45th anniversary of Disneyland. And again, I point out it still says Disneyland there on the badge. And then, bam, 2001, we're now Disneyland Resort. Betty and Bill, as you can see, Disneyland Resort. These would be from 2001. And again, Christine, 2005, the 50th anniversary of Disneyland. And as I noted earlier, this is gold. This is 2005 for cast members. This is 2005 for those who worked in Imagineering. And then our last badge is Betty again, and this is the Disneyland Resort. As you can see, it says Resort there. And this was worn from 2006 to 2013. So there you have it. Okay, so there you have it. It's a small collection, but like I was saying earlier, some of them are actually quite valuable. I'm embarrassed to say how much I paid for some of them, but we'll check back later. I think, like I said earlier, I think I'm going to get 3 or 4 more, and we'll continue to grow that collection. I'm probably going to have to figure out another spot to put them, but that's my problem for another day. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Please tell your friends to like and subscribe. And remember, in this world, when you can be anything you want, you be kind, you be humble, you be forgiving, and you be melting snow. Bye-bye.